The Honourable Member for Surrey North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to speak about Bill C-54 on behalf of my constituents from Surrey North. Last week, in the debates around Bill C-489, I spoke about the impact that proposed legislation can have on victim rights. And today I will speak again about it, but in the context of Bill C-54, which is an act to amend Criminal Code and the National Defence Act. This bill will modify the legislative framework in the Criminal Code and National Defence Act that applies to trials and results in alleged offender being deemed not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder. This bill presents a timely and very important discussion on mental health issues, victim rights and public safety. It is clear in the wake of several recent highly publicized cases we need to examine the current legal instruments to ensure that adequate protection is being awarded to the public and that victim needs, particularly in relation to the psychological healing and safety, are being considered with utmost priority. However, as with any discussion in this House, we must carefully weigh the balance between perspectives. Many mental health professionals have already voiced their concerns about the effect that this bill will have on people with mental health issues. Those concerns are legitimate and deserve the chance to be explored in depth. This is a fragile issue for victims, families, and communities, and we must be careful that we protect the interests of all Canadians in our deliberations. Mr. Speaker, Bill C-54 proposes to amend the current legislative mental disorder regime by putting public safety first, creating a high-risk designation for certain offenders, and by enhancing victims' involvement in the justice process. Mr. Speaker, obviously as members of Parliament and legislative decision makers, we need to place Canadian interests first and security as a paramount in all our evaluations and resolutions. From this perspective, the public safety first focus that Bill C-54 proposes should be reflective of the majority of Canadian legislation, and we should welcome its relevance to the common good. However, this must be met with balance. The concerns of mental health professionals are in the Bill C-54 might create the concerns of mental health professionals are that Bill C-54 might create mass panic resulting in increased prejudice and decreased understanding about mental health illness. We need to be cautious that we are not perpetuating and unwarranted stereotype that all people with mental health illness have potential for violence. Furthermore, Bill C-54 proposes that some offenders deemed not criminally responsible may be categorized as high risk, where persons that have been involved in serious injury offense and there is a considerable likelihood for further violence that would endanger the public. Mr. Speaker, high-risk offenders should be subject to an increased amount of time between review, board hearings, 36 months instead of the 12 months that it is currently at. They would also have escorted community visits, and in some cases, community visits would be eliminated. There's a concern that some defense attorneys may avoid seeking a mental illness defense because of the limits on this designation, limiting the treatment and resources available to their clients, and potentially exposing their clients to harm in traditional detention facilities. Bill C-54 also enhances victims' involvement in the Criminal Code mental disorder regime. They will be notified upon request when the accused is discharged. They will provide non-communication orders between the accused and the victim. They will ensure that the safety of the victim is paramount to the judicial decision-making process. Mr. Speaker, this element of Bill C-54 could be particularly important for the healing process of the victims and their families, and it may be essential to the development of a safety response strategy. Obviously, I have reservations about the proposals in this bill, but I think we must equally weigh the balance of arguments of any proposal that comes across this House floor, Mr. Speaker. Specifically, in the discussion around Bill C-54, we need to be conscious of the fact that only a small number of cases are found not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder under the criminal code. Furthermore, the rate of a reoffending for accused found not criminally responsible due to mental disorder is only 2.5% to 7.5% compared to federal offenders in the regular justice system, where reoffending rates are 45% to 44%. With that being said, Mr. Speaker, I think that our utmost focus in this debate must be public safety, as well as justice and support for victims. We need to explore Bill C-54 in detail to ensure that it offers effective solutions for victims and adequate protection for public. At the same time, we need to be respectful of the challenges that face people with mental health issues. We must keep the focus on prevention, treatment, and support resources. I will be supporting Bill C-54 so that it can be studied extensively. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to hear from mental health professionals, legal professionals, victims and rights, and families of victims to ensure that we are making informed decisions that will be valuable to Canadians and have their best interests at core. And I would encourage my Conservative colleagues to listen to those professionals, not only listen to those professionals, but also make the appropriate amendments that are needed to make this bill even better than what it is in the current state. I know that the Conservatives hesitate to add amendments, as we've seen over the last year or 2 years, where 99% of the amendments that are introduced by the NDP, my NDP colleagues, they have been rejected by the sitting government. So I would encourage them to listen to the frontline workers, listen to people that are providing these services, listen to, Mr. Speaker, I was reading, looking at the website today, the correctional officer, investigation officer, Howard Saper, pointed that out today in the media, that he has some concerns. So I'm hoping that they will listen to the concerns of not only government workers, but also people in the front lines, so that we can make this bill a better, further enhance it. It is important to note that in its current form, Bill C-54 will rest all financial obligations with the provinces. The federal government should ensure that adequate financial support is provided so that provinces have financial capacity to carry out these responsibilities. Bill C-54 presents an opportunity for us to review how underfunded mental health services are in Canada. In fact, recently I've spoken to social workers, social service providers in my own riding who have expressed their frustrations at not being able to provide adequate mental health resources to their clients due to funding challenges. Mr. Speaker, we must also ensure that adequate funding is provided to mental health services, as their work is invaluable to prevention, treatment, and advocacy for accused offender deemed not criminally responsible due to mental disorder. Mr. Speaker, in concluding, I hope the government will seriously consider the amendments proposed by the opposition parties, as well as the advice and stories of mental health professionals, legal professionals, victims' family, and rights groups. As policymakers, we must be open to institutional changes that are productive, effective. We cannot present grandiose ideas with little to back it up with. We must ensure that potential legislation that we debate is critically explored and will present effective remedies for its intended focus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.